Alright, so we're going to start by adding another strategy to our little flow chart here. We already learned greatest common factor, factoring by grouping. The one that we're learning today is what we call magic X. Magic X. We did grouping when there were 4 terms. Magic X usually has 3 terms. Sometimes it can have 2 terms. This is like the main strategy. We're going to spend like today, we're going to do some practice today, we're going to use it on Monday. Like this is the heart of this chapter. So this is something you really want to know. That's why I wanted to have a video for you guys so you could reference it. There's 2 different like types or ways to use magic X. One of the ways that we do this is when it's in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. You can do it when a is equal to 1 or when a is like bigger than 1 or just even not equal to 1. There are some other times that we use it, but I'm not going to show those to you today. We'll talk about those on Monday, so this box is just going to stay blank. Okay, I'm going to leave this just kind of as it is because I haven't had a chance really to teach you how to do it yet, and it's a lot of steps to cram into this little box. So just tuck this to the side. We might come back to it, we might not. This is the actual notes for today. Don't worry about all this stuff underneath. I would just include the chart for now. Doesn't need to be fancy. We have done examples before where you might have like 2x minus 6 times 3x plus 1. Okay, this is 2 things being multiplied together. How would you solve that? Multiply them. So 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. Negative 6 times 3. Good. Negative 18x. And negative 6 times 1, negative 6. What can you do with these middle terms? Yeah, you can combine them. They're like terms. So our actual final answer would be
6x squared minus 6 plus 6 minus 16x.
Good.
Minus 6.
Yes. Okay, that would have been our final answer over here. This is multiplying, this is review. We've done this before. Hopefully that's nothing new. Today we're factoring, so factoring is like the reverse order of multiplying. So they're going to give you a problem that might look like 6x squared minus 16x minus 6. And they're going to say find the factors. So our job today is to like kind of somehow retrace these steps to get us back to 2 answers that are in parentheses. And I'm going to teach you a strategy of how to do that. So this is like the problem that they're going to give you, and this is like what your answer is going to look like. pretty fun stuff. I can tell you're excited already.
Isn't that like what 18 was that you told us to cross out?
Yes, on your test?
Yeah.
Exactly. The ones on your test that you had to cross out, this was the strategy I hadn't taught you yet, but that somehow made its way on the first test, and it's going to be on the second test on next Wednesday when we take it, or Thursday. All right, so this is what you should add next. I have this nice and large and bolded to kind of help us. I'm going to explain what to do with an actual example problem. The first example that I listed is 2x squared plus 15x plus 18. Why would I line it up like this?
Because it matches the parts below.
It matches the parts below it. So if I'm trying to identify what the A, B, and C are, what's my A value? It is 2. It's not 2x, it's not 2x squared, it's just 2. It's just the coefficient, the number in front of the x squared. So A is 2. What's B? 15, same thing. It's not 15x, it's just 15, the coefficient. And what's C? 18. It's just the plain old number at the end. Okay, so far so good, right? Your first step for Magic X is to put A times C on the top. A times C goes on the top. So I'm going to write this in red. A times C. What's my A times C this time for this example? 2 times 18. Someone help me out. What's 2 times 18? Nice. Some of you probably knew that in your head. 36. Okay, that's step 1. Think you can handle that? Step 2. Put B on the bottom. So my B value was 15. Good. Okay, then we need to, this is where you actually get to use math. Some of you are really going to love this. You're going to think this is pretty fun. So we need to find the factors of the top number, which was our A times C. So I usually list it out kind of like this, where I make like a little chart off to the side. Yes, I can, so you can actually see it. Is it too small? Can you guys see that right? So we're finding the factors of 36. What are the numbers that multiply together to be 36? So someone give me one example.
1 and 36.
All right, I'm going to start with 1 and 36. I like to keep things organized in a nice, systematic way. This will help you.
2 and 18.
So next after 1 would be 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, and what's the last one? 6 and 6. Now, some of you are like, okay, I got this, I can do this in my head, and others of you are like, I really have no idea. Sometimes you're going to have numbers like 250, and you're going to be like, I don't know if 3 goes into 250. So this is where your calculator would come in handy, and you might have to just do like 36 divided by 1. Can you even see what I'm doing here? And then 36 divided by 2, and then 36 divided by 3, and 36 divided by 4, and 36 divided by 5. Did that one work?
Nope.
No. 36 divided by 6. How do you know when you're done?
Because what are the numbers better? Like
7 doesn't work. 36 divided by 8 doesn't work. 36 divided by 9 works. Why didn't I write the 9 down?
It's already on there.
It's already listed. If you get to a double number like this, you know you're done, because 6 and 6 is already starting to loop back on itself. Okay, so that was step 3, find the factors of A times C. So we're finding the factors of the top number. It's common on accident to forget that you're using the top number and do it on the 15, but that's not what we're doing. So you're finding the factors of A times C. I color-coded them so that you can see that. It's 36 and 36, both in red. Next step is to find the factors that add up to be B. So I'm looking at my list of factors we just found. If I added 1 plus 36, what is that?
37.
37. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Find the factors that add up to be B.
Can I see it?
Okay, hold it. I like that you see it. I'll come back to you. So looking at the factors you already found, we're trying to find the ones that are going to add up to be our B value. We're looking for numbers that add up to be 15. 2 plus 18 is 20. That's not 15. 3 plus 12. 15. Hey! That's our winner. That's the one we want. So I'm going to write them on the sides. So it's going to be 3 and 12 off to the side there. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see this all at the same time. Find the factors that add up to be B. Write 1
Is this the number 4?
on each side. Yeah, it's still part of the same step. Write 1 on each side. So I have the 3 over here and the 12 over there. I always list them, the smaller on the left, the bigger on the right. I always do it that way. You don't have to. It doesn't really matter. But just so you know how I do things, I always do it that way. It might make a difference later with negatives if you use my little negative trick. Any questions so far? You guys feeling all right? The next step is to divide the side numbers by A. Divide the side numbers by A. So if I'm going back to my side numbers here, yeah, my A value was 2. So I'm going to do 3 divided by 2 and 12 divided by 2. Now hold it. You're going to divide by 2. Then you need to reduce and leave as a fraction. Reduce, leave as a fraction. No decimals at all, ever. It will be counted wrong. No decimals, ever, for these ones. The good news is everybody has on your desk in front of you a calculator that will reduce fractions for you. So I know you already know this. You can do this in your head. But 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, but I don't want a decimal. How can I convert it back to a fraction? Good job. So it's 3 over 2. That's not changing. What about 12 divided by 2? 6. That's a whole number. So I'm going to write it over here as 6. But I want 6 to be a fraction. So what?
6 over 1.
It would be 6 over 1. That right there is the bulk of all the math that you're doing. Once you get to that step, you're in the home clear. You get to write your answer, and we're almost to the end. So my final answer is always going to look like this, where there's 2 parentheses. Okay, we're going to do lots of practice. I know there's lots of steps, but the actual math and stuff isn't too bad. So your final answer is always going to look like this. This 2 in the denominator is going to come over here, and it actually goes in the front. It's going to be 2x. The A basically goes in the front, but you got to be careful it's not always A, because over here it gets reduced. Okay, so it's the denominator always goes in the front. And then the numerator is going to go after that.
And so it would be 2x plus 3.
It would be plus 3, yep. 2x plus 3. What would this one be?
X plus 6.
Yeah, so the 1 would go in the front, which would make it 1x or just x, plus 6. This right here is your answer. Okay? If you find other ways you want to do this, you don't have to do magic X. There's some other methods and things you can do. But this is the way that I will always do it and show it to you. I like it because it basically just breaks it down. It gives you a way to already figure out how to solve this. You find the number on the top, number on the bottom, find the factors, put them on the sides, divide by A, get your answer. Every single one of you is capable of knowing all these steps, plus the steps are already written for you. You can use them on your notes. But we're going to do this so many times that you're not even going to feel like you need the steps. All right, so let's try another one. This one is going to have some negatives in it. And before I show you the negatives, somewhere in your notes, maybe I'm going to write this up at the top. You need to write yourself a little Magic X cheat sheet for negatives. Draw yourself 4 X's. You can put this wherever you want. If you want it like on the inside cover of wherever you keep your notes or something, so you have it handy, draw it there. But this is something that you can always look back to. If I have a positive and a positive on the top and bottom, both the sides are positive. If I have a positive and a negative on the bottom, that means the two numbers are multiplying to be positive, but they're adding up to be negative. So what would my two sides be?
One would be positive, one would be negative.
Both negatives.
They're both going to be negative. Because when they multiply, they become positive. When you add them, they become negative. If they were both negative, if they're multiplying to be negative, but they're still going to add up to be negative, that means the bigger number is negative. I always write the bigger number on the right side. So you might want to just like write big is negative. The smaller number is positive. If you have a negative on the top, positive on the bottom, it'll be reversed. You'll have the smaller number will be negative, the bigger number will be positive. Again, this is big, this is small. All right, we're going to do one more example. Actually, we're going to do a few more of these. Here's my problem. I'm going to start by listing A, B, and C. What is my A value? 1. What's my B value?
1.
Ooh, careful.
Negative.
Negative, because it's a minus. It's a negative 1. What's C?
Negative 6.
Negative 6. I'm going to draw my magic X. So what goes on the top? A times C goes on the top, so 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. The number on the bottom is just the B value. which was -1. I need to find the factors of which number? 6 or 1? 6. Let's list out the factors of 6. What you got? 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Anything else? Nope. I have a negative and a negative. So let's go back up to my chart up here. I have a negative and a negative. So that means the bigger number will be negative. So over here on my little chart, I'm going to write a negative and a negative by the big numbers. What's 1 plus -6? -5. What's 2 minus 3? -1. Which pair do I want to pick? Why? They add up to be -1. So I'm going to pick these ones. The 2 is going on the left. The -3 is going on the right. It is smaller, but if you ignore the negatives, which one's smaller? It doesn't really matter. The main thing is that you line it up in the chart. Smaller and bigger. And then you divide by? Divide by A, which is, in this case, 1. So your final answer, what number goes in the front, the 1 or the 2? The denominator goes first. So it'd be 1x plus 2. And it'd be 1x. See how it's a negative? It'd be -3. That's your answer. That's the gist of Magic X. Alright, this is where I'm going to stop our video.